Psalm 14, a journey through human failure and divine hope. Psalm 14 is a vivid exploration of humanity's moral failure and the hopeful sovereignty of God. Through its poetic lamentation and uplifting anticipation, it weaves a tapestry of universal sin, divine observation, and the ultimate hope found in salvation. This psalm invites us as believers to confront the raw truths of human folly while anchoring ourselves in the profound assurance of God's redemptive power. As we delve into its verses, we uncover not just an ancient lament, but a stirring call to faith, humility, and hope. In its depths lie insights that transcend mere theological rhetoric, encouraging believers to engage deeply with the existential questions of humanity. Why do we stray? How can we find reconciliation? And where does our ultimate hope reside? The fool hath said in his heart, "There is no God." They are corrupt, they have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. The Lord looked down from heaven upon the children of men, to see if there were any that did understand and seek God. Under a stormy sky, a barren wasteland stretches endlessly. A solitary figure stands with arms crossed, defiantly denying God's existence, even as chaos swirls around them. Above, the heavens open, and a piercing light from God's gaze breaks through the darkness, illuminating every corner of creation with divine omniscience. The sobering imagery in these verses portrays the futility of rejecting God. To proclaim, "There is no God," is not merely an intellectual assertion, it is a condition of the heart, closed off to divine truth. This denial corrupts every aspect of life, tainting individual actions and collective morality. God's penetrating observation reminds us that humanity is never hidden from His sight. For those who stubbornly resist Him, this reality is daunting, a call to relinquish arrogance and to seek understanding. Yet for Christians, this verse also brings hope. God looks for those who seek Him, and in this search lies our first step toward restoration. They are all gone aside, they are altogether become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Picture a bustling marketplace teems with people pursuing selfish gains. Some steal, others deceive, while still others exploit the vulnerable for profit. The air feels thick with moral decay. Gradually, the colors drain from the scene, fading into darkness, as the psalmist's mournful words echo, "None that doeth good." These verses confront the uncomfortable truth about universal sin, pulling us into an introspective journey. No one is exempt from the stain of depravity, neither the outwardly pious nor the blatantly corrupt. This is an unflinching critique of human nature that resonates deeply with philosophical discussions about ethical failures and the limits of human self-reliance. Even in our best intentions, we fall short of perfect goodness. Yet the recognition of universal sin is not meant to drive us to despair, it is meant to lead us toward grace. By shining a light on the universal condition, the psalm reminds us of our shared dependence on God. This necessity for humility bridges the divide between moral failure and divine invitation, drawing us closer to hope rather than condemnation. Have all the workers of iniquity no knowledge? Who eat up my people as they eat bread, and call not upon the Lord. There were they in great fear, for God is in the generation of the righteous. On one side stands a boisterous crowd, the wicked feasting greedily, oppressing the weak, and mocking those who call upon the Lord. On the other side is a prayerful group, small in number but surrounded by an ethereal glow of divine protection. Suddenly, a surge of terror grips the wicked as the reality of God's justice becomes unmistakably clear. This portion of the psalm highlights the age-old struggle between good and evil, the relentless oppression of the powerless by the powerful, and the quiet resilience of those who remain steadfast in their faith. It sharply critiques the ignorance of injustice as an affront to divine authority. Philosophically, it beckons believers to consider the interplay between free will and divine intervention. How can justice prevail amidst widespread corruption? The psalm answers with powerful reassurance. God is present among the righteous. Though they may suffer ridicule or oppression, His faithfulness never wavers. While evil may flourish for a time, divine justice will ultimately expose and dismantle it. Ye have shamed the counsel of the poor, because the Lord is his refuge. Against a backdrop of mocking oppressors stands a humble man, seated at the base of a towering tree. The storm rages around him, but the tree's branches form a protective canopy, shielding him from the violence. This image captures the assurance of God's refuge. These verses embody a deeply comforting truth. God's care for the righteous is unshakable. The vulnerable may be shunned or humiliated by the world, but their security lies in the enduring protection of the Lord. For believers, this is not an abstract promise but a lived reality. God's refuge offers peace in every storm, assurance in every trial, and strength in moments of weakness. Despite the fleeting refuge offered by worldly power, true safety is found only in the unwavering protection of a sovereign God. Oh, that the salvation of Israel were come out of Zion! When the Lord bringeth back the captivity of his people, Jacob shall rejoice, and Israel shall be glad. A radiant vision of Zion appears, pulsing with golden light. Across its streets the people gather in exuberant celebration. Their voices lift in joyous unity, singing of restoration and divine faithfulness. This chapter concludes with a chorus of praise, pouring forth hope that outshines all previous despair. The Psalm's crescendo is a jubilant proclamation of salvation. For Israel, this passage encapsulated their longing for deliverance from captivity, a desire that resonated both physically and spiritually. Today, we view it through the lens of Christ's ultimate redemption, the fulfillment of God's plan for humanity's salvation. This joyful vision inspires believers to hold fast to hope, even in the face of trials. As philosophical as it is spiritual, this passage explores the joy that accompanies liberation, not only from physical oppression, but from the chains of sin. It reminds us that our struggles are temporary while God's salvation is eternal. Psalm 14 offers profound insights that merge theology, philosophy, and moral reflection. Born from Israel's struggles, the psalm critiques moral decay and the rejection of God. With themes of divine justice and salvation, it reveals the perseverance of God's grace. The existential consequences of denying God and relying on self and the futility of independence. Its truths transcend cultural boundaries, resonating with all who seek meaning and redemption. It foreshadows the ultimate salvation available through Christ, bridging the temporal and eternal. Psalm 14 leaves us with a pressing question. Are we seeking God with humility, or are we clinging to prideful self-reliance? It challenges us to act boldly. Examine areas where you may be denying God's sovereignty. Engage in your community by supporting those who seek righteousness and extend refuge to the poor and oppressed. To grow your spiritual discipline, commit to daily prayer, scripture study, and trust in God's plan for salvation. Psalm 14 beautifully captures the reality of human failure, intersecting with divine hope. As believers, we are invited not to dwell in despair, but to rejoice in God's unwavering protection and the promise of salvation. May this timeless reminder of humanity's need for grace inspire us toward deeper faith, greater humility, and boundless hope.